Hey, what's going on? Today I was tagged in a challenge video by Beerbelliedtravelers for the 5 item, 5 person challenge. And basically, this is just showing your 5 pieces of gear for hiking or camping, backpacking that you just can't do without. So if you haven't checked out Beerbelliedtravelers, go over to their site, check it out. They do like a travel craft brew food vlog with outdoor videos, and they do all kinds of cool stuff like that, travel and outdoors. So check out their videos. They got some really cool stuff over there. And thanks, guys, for putting me into the challenge. So I'm going to start with my 5 pieces of gear. And since it's winter, it's going to be kind of geared that way. All right. So keep that in mind. The first thing that I always carry with me in the winter is my Catula micro spikes. All right. Because you can't hike or backpack if you don't have traction. If you can't walk, you can't go anywhere. So you've probably seen me talk about these before if you've watched any of my videos, or you've seen other people use them, or you have them yourselves. These are basically just this like a plastic elastic kind of band with titanium spikes stuck to the bottom on chains, right? The first question I get about these is, does this get brittle in the winter when it gets cold? I haven't had it happen yet. I've had these out in below 0 temperatures Fahrenheit, and they stay stretchy, and I've never had a problem. After a couple of years of use, there's no wear and tear other than a little bit of fading on this red. Is a little less red than it was. These are not crampons. You can't use these to scale like a waterfall, like climb up it. I would not suggest it for these. But as you've seen in some of my videos, walking right up to the waterfalls, walking on frozen rivers and creeks and stuff like that, absolutely, these give you almost a little too much confidence sometimes. And you got to be careful. If the ice is really frozen, you got to put a little more stomp into your step so you don't slide. But by and large, these will extend your range and your season by a ton. So these things between October and April, depending on where I'm going. If I'm going up to the Catskills, I'm situated right in between the Appalachians, the Endless Mountains, and the Catskills. So I'm always like only within like 2 hours of some crazy, crazy trails. So having something like this during all those months really helps out and allows me not to really worry about where I'm going. So that's the first item. The second item is, again, winter related, because if you're camping, you got to eat, right? And the stove I've been using for the winter has been my Solo Stove Lite. This is like a 2-piece setup. It flips over. It packs down inside of the Solo Pot 900. You could use any 900 milliliter pot. It would probably fit in there. It doesn't come with the stove, but I purchased it, so I had the set. And this is a gasifier stove. So basically you use twigs, you use leaves, you use grass, small pieces of wood, whatever you happen to find while you're hiking. You can put it inside here, you get the fire lit, and as the current starts to build in here, the smoke and all the gases get pulled down, and this is a hollow cylinder. There's a dual wall setup. So it gets pulled down, comes back up, and then you can't really see in there. Maybe you can if I tilt it the right way, but there's those holes that line the inside, and those gases get pulled back out. With the fire burning around it, it superheats them, and it creates like an afterburner effect. And you get these streams of fire coming out, and it helps boil your water. And if you need to use this as an emergency heat source, you could also do that. It does put off a lot of heat. And once you get used to how it works, it's pretty easy to get it going. And I can boil water with this almost as fast as with a canister stove. But in the winter, canister stoves, you lose pressure, the gases separate. I've actually had the O-ring inside one of those cheaper Amazon little stoves with the piezo lighter actually get too brittle, and try to put it together, and fuel comes spraying out of the sides. Don't need that when you're out hiking. So I started carrying a Solo stove, and I love it. It's a great piece of gear to have. I use it in the summertime sometimes too. But for winter, I love it. It's great. The next thing is another fire-related item, and that is, how do you start a fire? So this is something I set up myself. This is my fire steel and what I use as the striker. Now, this is made by a company called Beerbelliedtravelers. This is another kind of Amazon buy that I got, and you can kind of see that, right? The fire steel wasn't real expensive. It was maybe $20. Probably not even that. It might have been 10. And it works fine. It works pretty good, actually. It works great. I'm not going to lie. I'm horrible with a fire steel, and I can light a fire with this thing, especially with this little knife as the striker. This is a Ganzo knife that I use as my fire striker now, and this was a gift. And I got some nicer knives. I got a couple Gerbers. I've got an Ontario, which is like a Air Force survival knife. You can cut through aluminum with that thing. It's designed to cut through the fuselage of a plane. And I carry this. This is by far my favorite knife. I can operate it with one hand. It's got a decent blade. It fits well in my hand. It's light. I can find it because it's orange, and it works my fire steel great. So these two devices, these two pieces together, I consider one piece of kit now, and that's my fire lighting kit. So if you're looking at gear, if you're looking to buy stuff, you don't always have to go with the brands that you've heard of or that other people say are the best. You just use what's best for you. This is great for me. I love this, and for the foreseeable future, this is going to be my gear for starting a fire when I'm not just using matches. I always have backups in the winter. This is number 3. Number 4 is another piece of fire-related gear, and that is my V3 pocket bellows. All right, so this is made by a company called Epiphany Outdoors, and their kind of mission statement is to take ancient technology and bring it into the current age. And basically that's what they've done with this. So back in the day, to stoke fires, people would use bone or bamboo or some other kind of wood that was hollow to blow air under their fire. So what they've done is they've made these, which is just a stainless steel collapsible tube that allows you to put pinpoint accuracy on where you're putting the air under your fire. You could just lean in and blow into the fire. You could use a sit pad or a piece of Reflectix and fan your fire. But you're gonna have more of a chance of that getting blown out of the fire, right? You're gonna have sparks and embers and stuff coming out of there. With this, you can really pinpoint where the air goes and superheat one spot to get your fire back up and going. I've been able to take almost completely cold embers in the morning, take a little bit of tinder, put it into one spot, just concentrate on that one spot and ignite a fire again. So this, I feel lost without this bellows. And you may have seen this in videos, and maybe some of them I don't mention it, and people probably look at it and go, why is he blowing through a car antenna? It's not an antenna. This is actually a bellows. And great piece of gear. This, unless I'm like between packs and I forget to grab it out of my other pack, like during seasons, this thing is always with me for a fire when I'm camping. So that brings me to my last thing. This is my second most needed piece of gear. If I don't have this, I really do feel lost. So for camping is nothing if you don't have shelter. And I know you guys have seen me talk about my hammock setup before. Probably sick of seeing it. But I show it a lot because I'm proud of it, because that setup I've made myself. I taught myself how to sew. I looked at gear that I was already using and gear that other people were using and things I'd seen online that were ideas I wanted to incorporate into it. And I've built my own hammock system. And I've got way too many hammocks laying around now because I made a bunch of prototypes. But this one right here is what I've been using as my main setup. I've got a bug net that I use in the summer. In the winter, I add an extra layer of quilts. But the tarp, the suspension, the hammock body, the quilts, summer quilts and winter quilts, all handmade, and I love this thing. There's really nothing better than waking up in the morning and knowing that you're dry and safe and warm, and you're in your own shelter, something that you made. So yeah, this is huge for me. That I made this and I use it all the time. This is a 4-season shelter for me, and I haven't even gotten to the point where I needed to pull the tarp down around the hammock and close the doors. I've got that built in that too, and haven't needed to use it yet, and I've stayed warm down into the low 20s. So I'm kind of interested to push a little bit lower and see at what point I need to start enclosing myself with my tarp. So yeah, really looking forward to more tests with that. But that's it. That's my 5 pieces of gear that I can't be without when I'm hiking or camping. So next is a part that I've always cringed about for challenges. I was always like, I don't want to do challenges because I don't want to nominate other people. But I'm going to do it. So here we go. I'm going to give you the 5 people I'm going to nominate. I'm going to put their links along with Beerbelliedtravelers down in the description. I'm going to let all these 5 channels know that I've nominated them, and hopefully we get to see your 5 pieces of gear that you can't live without on a trail. So here we go. In no particular order, here are the 5 channels: Edgewood Outdoors, Wapiti Man, Rob Adventure, Rocket Outdoors, and Happy Trails Hiking. So those 5 channels, want to see what you guys do as far as your 5 pieces of gear that you can't do without. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next.